that the Sahel is very close to the northern part of Nigeria, which we're talking about the desert. So what that means is that there are very big influence of the deserts, which we call desertification, also coming down or impacting the northern part of Nigeria. What is desertification? Desertification is clearly the absence of plants, crops, or water in most cases, and these are prevalent in the furthest part of Nigeria and in the deserts. And we have seen that coming down because of certain human activities like cutting down of trees indiscriminately. We're talking about overgrazing and agricultural practices that are not very beneficial to the soil. The soil is a living thing, and until we understand that the soil has life, it breathes, we will keep missing it, because once the soil is dead, what you have is a dead soil, and the dead soil is a desert. So that basically is about that. We have seen a lot of deforestation going on because people want to meet their energy needs. And in doing that, people still don't end up planting trees or replacing those trees that have cut down. So what you have is a bare land, and then the elements like climate change, for instance, begins to set in, whereby you have low rainfalls, and where you don't have rains enough, the lands are dry, plants can't grow, the soil becomes dead, and then you have desertification, basically.
Talking about climate change, I know you are some kind of expert in that area, because I know you've gone there some programs, recently I know you were part of. So talk to us, how has climate change influenced the intensity of droughts in our country? I know it's a global phenomenon there, but...
Oh, okay, so yeah, it has influenced it in a way that now we are having maybe increased temperature, shorter rainfall patterns, and probably increased, for a longer period. Instead of it coming the way it's supposed to come. And so that also means that the land is drier, and because it's drier, it's not absorbing even the little rain that comes, and then everything runs off. That also means that if it's running off so quickly, it can also cause flooding or erosion somewhere else, because it's not absorbing it as it's supposed to absorb it. It has, caked, So that's how it increases the intensity of those things. If you're having increasing temperature, lower, shorter time for rain that you're supposed to have. So those shifting weather patterns leads to this crop failure that we are having, and that also means poverty, food insecurity. So it keeps having all the other consequences that you never thought about. It can even lead to people migrating out of their homes because they can't have access to food. That also means they don't have access to money because they've sell the food to make money. That also means loss in biodiversity, because by the time you start losing some species of plants and animals depending on those plants, so the effect is always... And one of the examples I always give is that we have COVID and we'll running up and down looking for the solution. Assuming one of those plants that are going extinct as a result of degradation or drought is the solution to the problem, the pandemic, and we have it in Nigeria, we've lost it, all we have done. So it's important that we retain the biodiversity.
Back to you, Akpan, talking about all of this, I know there have been some efforts Nigeria is making, towards combating desertification and, of course, drought. In your assessment, how far would you say we've gone?
Yeah, in my assessment, we've had several interventions in combating this desertification by both individuals, private sector, and the government, both globally and nationally. For example, we'll talk about the Great Green Wall. That was a very laudable project that the idea was like build a green belt around the northern part of Nigeria just to check the encroachment of the desert into Nigeria, like, a stopping or what we call a buffer wall. Yeah, that has also seen some significant progress, but not without challenges. And because, again, my take is that for projects to succeed, it has to be people-oriented, or people have to take ownership of it. And where ownership is lacking, you will find that most times the sustainability becomes a challenge, most especially when the key drivers are no more there in the scene. So we also have ACRISAL that has been ongoing, but looking at it, we also discovered that sometimes that link between individuals accepting, everybody knowing that this is our thing, not just a government project, and sometimes the approach to also makes people feel not connected to it. So it's been well, but I think the gap is the connection with the very people that this thing is supposed to, or these projects are supposed to be beneficial to. Like in Oxfam in Nigeria, we have worked on projects around engaging communities to take action and responsibility. So we're talking about, for example, what we call community development plan. This is a plan whereby community members get to know their challenges. For example, in a desert-prone community, this is our challenge. Then how do we go about combating it? Not just looking at just the government, but we believe every individual has a responsibility or has an idea or an input to this project. So from that stage, people already know their role to, combating some of these challenges. We have encouraged communities to go into nursery production, whereby they own this nursery plantation, and they are also looking at how they can also own plantation, economic trees. That way there's a connection, because they desired economic trees, for example, of a project in Nasarawa State. They desired the economic trees. Palm trees, yeah, we have them establish nursery, now they have a plantation, and they are looking at producing oil for them. There's a connection, and already with that connection, you see they are also solving that challenge of desertification, even in their own domain, because they own it. Ownership is very important. So that would be my take on most of these projects, government interventions, policies. Let it be connected to the people, and people can take ownership. That way, everybody will feel part of it, and then everybody will contribute positively, I think, to the gains. Yeah.
Dr. Hajingwa, today we celebrate the International Day of Desertification and Drought, and the theme for today says, Restore the Land, Unlock Opportunities. How does this theme resonate with us as a country?
All right, so a good one is what you're already experiencing, farmer herders conflict. So if the land is doing what it's supposed to do, probably the herders won't be moving further south or trying to, and then there's a conflict, because now the land is overgrazed, so opportunities in that is gone. So if the land is restored and you unlock opportunities, and opportunities include food security, the biodiversity that I mentioned earlier, the water is there, because now places where you don't have enough plants also means you won't have enough rainfall. So it's a water cycle. That's how it is. Where you have less plants, you have less rainfall, because the plants there release. So this is the science of it. Releases those.
Evaporation.
Yeah, evaporation. It goes into the air, and then you start having rain. So that's why you have more rain where you have a lot of forest, and we have less rain where you don't have the forest. So the more we cut down the trees, the more we overgraze the place, the livestock, bush burning, cutting down the trees, not taking care of it, not having a way to retain the water in the soil. You won't be able to unlock those opportunities that has to do with in agricultural space. That includes the quality of grazing that the animals are eating, the quality of food we are having, the varieties we are having. These are ways we can unlock it. And that also goes to making money, because by the time you are having access to different types of food security, then you're making money, you're creating jobs for women, for youth, for whoever wants to go into that space. So that's how we can unlock that opportunity that is there by overgrazing or bush burning or causing drought. Because yes, there is some natural effect, but also there's a lot of it is human induced that we can control if we're able to promote the knowledge. Even the indigenous knowledge should be recognized as part of the solution, because sometimes it's like, oh, everything has to be westernized. No, we should know that these herders and farmers that live in these local places have solutions that we need to institutionalize. Yes, we can combine them with the modern knowledge, but our local knowledge is important, that we start studying them and start saying, how can we use this that work for us? It doesn't have to be imported every time. Yes.
Now, we'll take a short break now. The conversation will continue. Okay, we'll have to continue, with that. Now, I also want you to talk more about, she talked about indigenous ways, local ways of combating desertification that has been effective for us, how we can make that. Because recently you see people falling down trees just for firewood. Not really for maybe using it for maybe furniture making or something, just for firewood. I mean, persons, as much as we're talking quite a lot about desertification, some persons might not really know the intensity of this. Understand why this should stop, why certain practices should be stopped. So I wanted to throw more light on that.
So straight up, throw more light. We have been involved in enlightenment campaign and creating awareness. But the question usually, just to go back to what you just mentioned, is how can you stop a man from eating his food? Like somebody is hungry, he needs energy to cook. And most times we know we fall back to firewood. You cannot tell a hungry man not to cook, not to eat. So most times, we've come out to say, don't cut trees, don't do this, but is there a solution? Is there an alternative? So some years back, energy saving stoves were given out. Up till now, they are still becoming popular. But we have forgotten that that stove needs fuel. And if you are giving 1 million stoves out there, what do you expect when the fuel alternative is not there? So what we have done as Oxfam in Nigeria is we have tried to see how local people can also see the solution around them. For example, community women today can use grass, leaves that fell down from trees around them, agricultural waste, to produce what we call briquettes. These briquettes are like firewood from this waste that they can now use in these stoves to cook instead of cutting or felling down trees. That is an alternative solution to cutting down trees, which we provided or we encouraged to as an alternative solution. Apart from that, government too is not just enough to see policies have been put in place. For example, a truckload of felled trees or charcoal, sometimes the fine is maybe 20,000 naira. And you see, that's not discouraging enough. Somebody would rather pay the fine and go in there and cut down trees. So it's something that the government has to look at, reviewing some of these policies, even at state level, which is what we have done, try to see how climate and environmental policies can be reviewed, and to see how some of these old policies can be, looked into to make the penalties very severe to discourage people. And something that is so disheartening is going on, like international involvement of some countries coming into Nigeria to log our woods. Are there modalities put in place? And again, talking about local solution, we are in a project in Bauchi State, and then we went to this local community. It was also desert prone with erosion and all of that. But the local people told us that there's a particular grass that when you plant it, what that grass does is to, kind of bind the soil together. And over time, you see that gully or that eroded place becomes filled up with sand because it traps incoming sand. And before you know, that lands become level. It's called Kafi Councillor. And it was something...
What did you call it again?
Kafi Councillor in Hausa.
Okay,
Kafi. Kafi Councillor, meaning that you are, that thing is more than a councillor. That's to them, it's more beneficial than having a politician.
Oh.
They have seen the direct benefit of that grass.
Okay.
So it's a learning, and I was like, okay, this is something that can be scaled up to neighboring communities around there that are also prone to erosion, flooding, and desertification. So our people have knowledge, yeah, but most times too, it's also very good for our government and duty bearers to look into the solutions. I believe that we have the solutions. Somebody from outside will not come and tell us exactly how it pinches us. So we have respect for that, and every opportunity we have, we try to see how we can amplify this local knowledge and as a solution to our own people.
Okay, now back to you, Dr. Ajinwa. I know as much as you say we have some, indigenous solutions that have been effective in the past. Now, you agree with me that the world is tilting towards technology. What are some of the technological options that we can adopt to combat desertification and, of course, drought?
Okay, so when it comes to maybe food security, agriculture, there are so many of them. Now there is AI, drone, there are so many things that can be used to combat it. But the thing is enforcement. We have Great Green Wall initiative that is going on. But how far have we been able to enforce those things that we have? The initiative, the policies, the enforcement, what are the gaps? Sometimes it looks as if the agencies are not working in coordination, but these things exist. How much of Science and Tech Ministry working in conjunction with the Great Green Wall and Ministry of Environment to make sure that these things work? But they work, just like you said, there is indigenous knowledge. There are things that they don't exist in other places, they exist here. Like the Coffee Councillor he talked about. It's possible that this is the only place it exists. So how are we taking care of that and see how we can, advance it? It doesn't have to just be in one local place. So when it comes to technology, there are so many things that we can use. There are technology that can tell you the amount of water a particular tree needs.
Yeah, because right now we have AI.
Yes, not just AI. That it will tell you amount of water you have. Like here, you have different types of trees, or even the same, but the need of each of the plants is different. So there are technologies that can tell you, oh, this plant needs nitrogen, while the other one need more of carbon, and the other one need more of sulfate, and so they know. So it just specific, precise agriculture. That's what they were even calling it. They have one that I was watching one time that was happening in Israel. Very precise. So you don't need to
irrigation.
This one is not drip. This is precise agriculture. So not just water now, even the minerals. So a lot has gone into agriculture. It's now left for us to adapt it. But let's even solve the basic ones. The overgrazing that is even costing things, not valuing our own indigenous knowledge. So one of the things that we are doing in C-Cycle Foundation, we just had a debate where you bring in children to talk about it, the own solution that they think works for them. We hear them, because sometimes these children, you think, oh, they are little children, but sometimes solutions come from them that we are overlooking because we've been in the city. Remember, people are leaving the rural areas to migrate to the urban areas just because of this. And that also means overpopulating the urban areas. There's a lot of issues that come with that. People begin to live in slums. Meanwhile, where they are coming from, they live in a better place. But now they have to leave the place because they can't make money there, they can't sell, then there's flooding, then the road is not working, and then there we have bandits. Now there's... So what do you think will happen? Everybody moves to the city and then we are all struggling, and then it's like we will now leave the place for the bandit to continue. So all of these things are causing problems that we have to find a way to live together, apply that technology. It works. There is drone. There is an issue. A good number just happened a few days ago in Benue State, with all the technologies available in the world. So we can still apply them. So when it comes to agriculture, it has gone so far to be able to know which ones work for us and how can we merge it. Not that we're taking these things and then throw our own knowledge. No, we can take it in and merge them and see how can we improve ourselves. Because if you keep copying, you don't even know where to paste them.
Talk to it. He mentioned the Green Wall, the Great Green Wall. I mean, how far have we, initiative, right? So how far have we gone in that?
Yeah, well, that's an initiative not directly connected to Oxfam, but I can relate to it. Basically, it's been an initiative that I think it was a laudable initiative, not just in Nigeria, but it cuts across some countries in the
Has it been effective?
Yeah, I would say it has been effective because for me, so far so good. I think that's the benchmark for most of these engagements. Yeah, it's just the benchmark. AgriSAR would have, will have some things to learn from there, because it's been there. There are gaps, there are learnings. So anything coming after the Great Green Wall should just fall back on their gaps, learnings, challenges to build on something better. But I think it has been effective in the fact that it's still there in our face. It's still there as a reference point, and it's still there as a project worth emulating, which that's global, but how can we bring it, like we're talking about context now, because sometimes it can be holistic. Okay, let's say a variety of trees. Let's plant these trees. But in a particular context, that might not just be the need of those communities. They might have what we call indigenous trees, and some of these trees are disappearing, and a whole lot of knowledge has gone with them. And for posterity, people who would have told us the importance of some of these trees are no more there. So it's also very important to know the kind of trees that survive in particular locations, and to see how those kind of trees, contextualizing it, can be improved upon or talked about or encouraged. That way it will help to, like I keep talking about, sustainability, people accepting, taking ownership, and also see how people can emulate at community level. Local governments can have our own great green wall.
At family level?
Family level. Family level. Okay, I'll ask now. This is a simple question. Desertification, we're fighting your challenge. It's a big challenge. How many trees have you planted? You. So, so these are questions. You ask everybody here, how many trees have you planted as a human being? And the ones we are enjoying today, many people those days planted it. We are just enjoying trees. We don't even know where it came from. How many have we planted? That's a challenge for all of us.
I've been trying to plant a little at my backyard.
Yeah, so
doing something.
Should do more.
Thank you very much. We had an environmentalist, Kenneth Akpan, Climate Justice Team Lead, Oxfam, Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And we had Dr. Chimeremeo Ajinwe, environmental scientist, a public health expert, and Team Lead C-Circle Research and C-Circle Foundation for Sustainable Health and Environment. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And thank you for being part of the program. I'm your carrier, Clinton. Goodbye.